Hello and welcome back to Football Pass. I'm delighted to be joined by former Rangers and England star Terry Butcher as we preview this weekend's games. Before we get to this weekend's games though, Terry, I want to get your opinion on Rangers' domestic season so far. 34 matches played, 29 victories, 5 draws. Incredible form. Could they go the full season unbeaten?
And they've only conceded 11 goals in those 34 games. I think Chelsea hold the record for 15 a season. So they've got 4 games to try and see it out and make sure that they get that record as well. When Celtic won the title and they were invincibles way back, about 4 or 5 years ago, they amassed and collected lots of good records, and the Rangers wanted to do the same. But it doesn't matter about records; it just matters about lifting that league trophy. And especially in this season of all seasons, Rangers have certainly done the business. So, been very impressed by them. They're very strong, resilient, tough, everything that you want champions to be. And they've they've just thrown down the gauntlet to Celtic to see how they can respond. And Celtic do have to respond. There's no doubt about that.
Well, Celtic do have to respond, and this weekend on Sunday at 3 o'clock, Rangers will host Celtic at Ibrox. Who do you think has more pressure heading into that game? Celtic obviously want to try and redeem their season, and even in a small way, but also on the other hand, Rangers will want to seal a double because that would be very impressive, as you know, from your time at the club.
Yeah, so there's so much at stake with this game. You sort of think, well, can they get any bigger this season? But every game you do play with the Old Firm, you do find they're bigger than the last one. So there's twice Celtic have to go to Ibrox in the remaining games, and twice they have to try and end, or if not once, to try and end Rangers' unbeaten run. And I think that's the big target for Celtic now. They've got 2 stabs at it, if you like to call it like that, to try and beat Rangers and end that unbeaten run. So who's the pressure on? I think it's possibly on Rangers a lot more than Celtic. Celtic have lost the title now. They're playing for a lot of pride. They're playing for the only trophy that they can win. So they'll certainly be going all out to do just that. But Rangers have beaten Celtic this season already. They've beaten them well. They're strong. They're resilient, like I said before, and they've got the bit between their teeth. So, and sometimes it's difficult when you go to your main rivals and you're under the cosh a little bit, having lost the title, or you haven't had a bad time, and it's difficult then to sort of raise your game. Whereas Rangers have been winning, they've been constantly winning, keeping clean sheets, particularly at home as well. They've been absolutely magnificent at home. So, it's I still think Rangers have still got a little way to go. They've got St Johnstone away, they've got Aberdeen at home, Livingston away, and Celtic at home. So 4 reasonably tricky games on paper. And the 4 teams that they'll play in the league will have nothing to lose. But it's a cup tie, and you play to a finish on Sunday, and someone's got to come out on top. So, Rangers will be definitely looking to say, well, look, we've already won 1 title, 1 major cup, the major title as well. But they've won that, and they can win the double this season. And what better way to rub salt into Celtic's wound than to do just that? But then consequently, Celtic, they've been here before. When we were on course to win the treble, they stopped us. I think that was about 1989 or something like that. They stopped us from doing that by winning at Hampden, and we didn't get that Scottish Cup to add to the League Cup and Scottish title. So yeah, it's you never can tell an Old Firm game. You never can, especially when there's no crowd there as well. And Rangers have been magnificent without a crowd at home. You normally think the crowd spurs you on, and it certainly does to a certain degree. But they've spurred themselves on, and they'll have to go again on Sunday, and in the future game coming up at home in that league match.
They will have to go again, and I'm sure Steven Gerrard will be delighted with home advantage in this cup tie, even though fans won't be there, as we've both said. Just on Steven Gerrard, your fellow countryman, how impressed have you been by the job that he's done at Rangers overall, particularly this season?
Well, I'm just looking at some stats. Steven Gerrard he's had 164 games at Rangers and 108 wins, 35 draws, and he's only lost 21 games. That's pretty impressive, because as we all know, if you go to play for the Old Firm or coach or manage the Old Firm in particular, the pressure on you is just enormous. It's nothing like anything down south. It's nothing like anything else in the UK and probably Europe as well, with probably the exception of like Bayern Munich and Real Madrid and Barcelona are all the real top sides. But there is a massive pressure on and off the pitch, and he's got to cope with that first. And he's been at the club for a while now, so he knows what it's all about. He knows what it means to the fans, what it means to the players, and he knows all about the history. You have to look at the history of the club and just say, well, I want to make my own history as a manager. I want my team to win things. And this season, they've won one thing already. They want to win another thing. They want to keep going. They want to be unbeaten. So these are the cups and the triumphs and the records that Rangers are chasing. But I think he's been outstanding. He really has, in terms of applying himself, learning about his players, learning about the situation in Scotland, knowing what he has to do. And he's made his team very much like in the same sort of stature as himself, the same characteristics as himself, by being strong, by being tough, but also playing the right football the right way. And his team certainly do that. They're fluent, they're fluid, they can be gritty, they can knock out results when things aren't going well. But they also, when they get the bit between their teeth, they just destroy teams. And that's a sign of a fantastic side.
They've won the title. They could go unbeaten in the league. They could even end up with a League and Cup double, as we're talking about at the moment. Despite that, is there any areas of the pitch that you think Rangers could improve on further ahead of next season, when they'll have Champions League qualifiers in the summer?
Yeah, well, they're now an even more tempting target for players to come to Rangers. You've got Champions League, and you've got the possibility of lifting trophies. They've got the fabulous games when the fans come back to play against Celtic, home and away. There's lots of great things, and we found to tempt players to come to Ibrox, and tempt agents, because obviously agents get paid a pretty penny to get their players there. But there's so much going on at Ibrox, and so much positivity, that players would love to come there and tempt them. So in their signings, which they've done, I think, over the last 2 or 3 years, they've made some good signings, but they've made some really good signings that have blossomed in that atmosphere, in that frenetic environment. And it's all about doing the same and continue to do that. What the Rangers have to do to improve, well, there's certain areas of the pitch they need to improve in. But if anyone good comes along now, and there will be good players that come along, Rangers now very much in the market to get these players and tempt them even more. Like we were tempted way back in '86, and loads of other players have been tempted in the past. It's not the money. You're playing for a special club. You're playing in a special country, in a special league, and it takes a lot of grit and determination to see that out and do well. So I think there's a massive challenge there, and the challenge is one of the greatest things, more so than finance, more so than trophies. Just the challenge of doing well in a country that's unforgiving at times, that's very critical, but also loving as well. And if you go up there and do well in Scotland, for any of the old firm, you're going to be legends, you're going to be icons, you're going to be heroes, very quickly. So it's something that you might not get down south, and probably won't get down south. So you've got to have special people that come to Scotland, and certainly Rangers have got some special people now.
The last question I've got for you is the big one. The game is on Sunday at 3 p.m, as I've said already. Who do you think will win the game? If you're being honest, we're speaking here in midweek, so obviously things can change between now and Sunday, injuries and other things. So as we speak at the moment, without a scoreline, who do you think will win the match?
Well, look, I'm not going to say Celtic, am I? Because I don't believe that, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm down in Ipswich and at the moment, and I work alongside Gerard Nash, who's from Ireland, and obviously he's a Celtic fan. So the banter is unbelievable, and I've scored so many big points this season over Gerard that he'll have his time, but not this season, I hope. Maybe in the future. So yeah, I'm going to go for Rangers. I think their strength of character will be one that will overcome any fears and any worries they might have. I don't think it's going to be a great game of football. Certainly not like previous cup ties with Rangers and Celtic. So I don't think it'll be particularly great. I think it'll be tense, it'll be nervy. But I think Rangers have been in this situation before when they haven't played particularly well, but can still grind out results. Plus the fact they've got supreme confidence against Celtic, having beat them 3 times this season as well. So yeah, it's all there for them, and I think that they believe. I think that's the main thing. Celtic, well, possibly not. They'll have to really pull themselves up and roll the sleeves up and get stuck in even more. But sometimes that might not be enough against this Rangers side that gets there in the end and gets the job done.